I must warn you, this story contains heraldic terms. I, however, will butcher them solely to annoy all the heralds in the audience. It will make them mad and irritate them no end. Also, I can't pronounce them anyway.
Yeah. Go.
And this is how it goes. Once upon a time, someplace in the land of Saturday afternoons, there was a clever little boy who went off to seek his fortune. Now, seeking your fortune is not all that it's cracked up to be, because you must do things like sleep in the rain, trudge through morasses, which we're really getting familiar with here, get lost in the woods, and in general not have a fun time. But you do tend to meet interesting people, and it broadens you. It also gets you out of the house. Anyway, the clever little boy was walking along one day, looking at birds and trees, when he rounded a turn in the road, and there, beside the road, sat a curious apparition. Well, the curious apparition seemed to be human, so the clever little boy walked up to him, tipped his hat, and said in his politest manner, "Good morning." Now, the curious apparition looked up from where he was sitting and replied, very sternly, "Don't you even know how to announce yourself properly? My goodness, what are they teaching the youth these days? Go back and do it right." Well, the clever little boy didn't quite know what to make of all this, so he backed up a step and said very cleverly, "Huh?" Now, the curious apparition jumped up, turned beet red, stamped his foot, threw his hat up on the ground, stamped it flat, spun around, raised his arms to the skies, and screamed, "Oh, God, give me strength!" He then turned to the clever little boy and said, "Let me demonstrate. I shall present myself to you, and then you may emulate me thusly." He stepped back, bowed until his nose scraped a bug off a flower, and spoke in very round tones. "I am His Most Noble Excellency Guillaume de la Florentia Vaca de Vega of the House of Montoya Terrain, Herald. I bear for arms pompous rampant pale K-Fereshi sable, and displaying a scroll ornate lettered with the text of a patent of arms, argent engrossed sable, illuminated gules, riband fert, sealed proper with the representation of the seal of Terrain, the seal of Montoya, and the seal of approval. In Canton, as an augmentation of honor, a mass of red tape proper." Now, I said all of this in one breath, which amazed the clever little boy very much. Me too, I might add. You must understand, heralds are people who make it their business to make things fancy and posh, and to make up rules of behavior and rules about heraldry. "Well," said the herald, "and just who might you be, then?" "Oh," said the clever little boy, "I'm no one special, just a boy who was off to seek his fortune." The herald looked at him and thought that he must be a prince in disguise, because princes are fond of donning disguises and wandering the countryside, listening to their subjects and seeing how they live. That assumption meant that the herald decided to talk to the clever little boy, because otherwise he never would have even given him the time of day. "Well, then," said the herald, "have it your way. Come sit down and share my picnic." Now, not being one to refuse a meal, the clever little boy sat down and looked interested at the basket that the herald produced from under a nearby bush. "So," said the herald, "we present the basket. A most noble basket of great lineage and honor." And he set the basket down with a mighty flourish, took a trumpet out from under his tabard, and blew a fanfare that lasted at least 3½ minutes. Then he took the cover from the basket, flipped it expertly into the air, and settled it down on the grass as a tablecloth. Now, the cover was made of cloth of gold, with embroideries of heraldic animals around the hem, and on the full-color embroidery of the herald's arms in the center. Thus, the tablecloth from the halls of Montoya themselves. And he blew another 3½ minute blast on the trumpet. Everything he drew from the basket was announced, flourished, and fanfared until, 3 hours later, the herald drew out 2 ham sandwiches. He placed the ham sandwiches on the plates which were between the forks and knives, which were on the napkins, which were below the goblets, which were filled with wine, set beside the finger bowls, near the candelabra below the salt, which was in a huge silver net decorated with cherubs and decorated with the herald's arms. As a matter of fact, everything was decorated with the herald's arms, even the ham sandwiches. "Oh, good," said the clever little boy. "I'm hungry. Let's eat." "Hold!" cried replied the herald in a mighty voice. We still must announce the set to their proper places, the apples, the cheeses of 47 kinds, the grapes, the lobster squares, and the rest of the lunch. Then we must announce that luncheon is served with the proper fanfare. I must present you a table and announce each serving. Well, said the clever little boy, when can I expect to eat? My good child, said the herald, not for at least 7 hours yet. What? Said our hero. Whereupon the clever little boy picked up a rock from the road, put it in his sling, and put the herald out of everyone's misery. He then had a very good lunch and put everything back in the basket and went off looking for a place to sell it. Now, the moral of this story is that we shoot every third herald. You're the second one so far. The extra moral, which, by the way, is free of charge, never take a herald on a picnic.